first time I ever got paid, I felt like I was finally stepping into adulthood. My uncle gave me some advice that echoed everything I'd ever heard. Save 10%, live below your means, and one day you'll be free. So I did exactly that. I opened a savings account. I skipped the Starbucks runs. I turned down dinners with friends just to prove I was disciplined. But months passed, then years, and my bank balance grew, but painfully slow. The harder I tried to save, the more I noticed something disturbing. The finish line kept moving, rent went up, groceries cost more, emergencies came out of nowhere. I was doing everything right, but I still felt poor. And then it hit me. Maybe the advice wasn't wrong, but maybe it was never meant for someone who wanted more than just to survive. Maybe it was meant to keep people content with surviving. That realization cracked something open. Because the more I looked at the lives of the truly wealthy, the 1%, the more I saw something most people never talk about. They don't save like we're told to. Most people save from a place of fear. Fear of losing their job. Fear of unexpected expenses. Fear of falling behind. So they cut out lattes, cut out subscriptions, cut out vacations. They treat saving like dieting, something you do when you've overindulged, something fueled by guilt. But the 1%, they treat saving like a strategy, like a lever. They don't obsess over pinching pennies, they obsess over positioning capital. I remember meeting a guy at a networking dinner, quiet, unassuming, but incredibly wealthy. I asked him what his monthly budget looked like. He laughed, said, "I don't budget, I deploy." At first, I didn't get it, but then he explained he doesn't save to subtract from his lifestyle, he saves to multiply his reach. He saves to move faster when the right door opens. That's when I realized the middle class saves to protect themselves, the wealthy save to position themselves. Same act, completely different intent. For a long time, I thought my struggle with saving was just about money. But it wasn't. It was about emotion. Every time I saved, it felt like punishment, like I was choosing future comfort over present joy. And that constant tension between now and later kept me stuck in this cycle of self-denial and guilt. But the wealthy? They don't carry that same emotional weight. They've rewired how they feel about money. They don't see saving as sacrifice. They see it as strategy, as agency, as freedom in disguise. Because when you're operating from abundance, not fear, you don't see money as something to lose, you see it as something to use. That mindset shift was everything. The 1% aren't emotionally saving to feel safe. They're saving with purpose because they already feel secure in who they are. Most of us save because we're afraid. They save because they're ready. So where does their money actually go? Not under a mattress, not into a savings account barely keeping up with inflation. The 1% treat saving more like allocation. Their dollars are never idle. They're always in motion, parked in places that grow, compound, and eventually pay them back with interest. When I first peeked behind the curtain, I saw it, money quietly flowing into rental properties, into equity stakes in companies, into tax-advantaged investment accounts, into private opportunities most people never hear about. And the wild part? These weren't necessarily brilliant, risk-hungry entrepreneurs. They were just playing a different game. While most people try to save their way to security, the wealthy allocate their way to leverage. Every dollar isn't saved for the sake of safety, it's positioned for impact. They don't ask, how do I protect this money? They ask, where can this money work for me? And once I understood that, my entire definition of saving collapsed. My parents were savers, the kind who believed banks were the safest place on earth. Every month, they'd tuck away a little extra, left coupons, drove old cars, skipped vacations. But when retirement came, I saw the fear in their eyes. They had saved, yes, but life had inflated past their planning. Their savings account didn't grow. It just sat there, slowly losing value. And That's when I learned one of the most painful truths about money. What feels safe often isn't. The traditional idea of saving, just stashing money away and hoping it's enough, isn't security, it's stagnation. And the system loves when we believe in that kind of safety, because it keeps our money in places that benefit everyone else more than it benefits us. The 1% don't confuse stillness with safety. They understand that money, like water, becomes toxic when it doesn't move. They don't just avoid risk, they price it, they manage it, they use it, and that's why they win. There's something else. The wealthy understand something that completely changed how I view saving. They don't just save for emergencies, they save for identity. Let me explain. Most people think saving is about protection, building a wall between you and disaster. And yes, that's important, but for the 1%, savings are also a tool for becoming. They save to buy time, to make bold moves, to say no to things that don't align with who they want to be. One entrepreneur I spoke with told me, "I save so I can fire bad clients, so I never have to say yes out of fear again." That stuck with me, because in that moment, I realized the rich don't save for survival, they save for control, for the power to walk away, for the freedom to pivot, for the space to dream without a deadline breathing down their neck. Their savings are not a cage, they're a launch pad. When I was younger, I had an emergency fund. 3 months of expenses, just in case. But every time I looked at that money, I felt nervous, like it was waiting for something bad to happen. And eventually it did. A car repair, a medical bill, life reached out and took a bite. That's the problem with saving for emergencies. You start to expect them, but the 1%, they save differently. They build opportunity funds. Their money isn't sitting around waiting for disaster, it's waiting for alignment. A startup they believe in. A property deal that needs fast action. A chance to hire talent before someone else does. I met a guy who called his savings ammo. He wasn't hoarding it, he was preparing it. He told me, when everyone else is panicking, I want to be the one writing checks. That's how the wealthy move. They don't save out of fear, they save for timing. And when the moment comes, they're already loaded. I used to think wealth was about how much money you had saved. But one day, a mentor asked me a question that shifted everything. If your income stopped today, how long could you live the life you want? Not survive, but live. That question exposed me. I had been so focused on numbers, on hitting some arbitrary savings goal, that I'd never stopped to measure the one thing that actually matters, time. That's how the wealthy think. They don't count dollars, they count days. They don't obsess over bank balances, they obsess over freedom metrics. How many months until I can walk away from this job? How many years could I go without touching earned income? How long can I fund my vision before needing someone else's money? That's the calendar test. And most of us fail it not because we're lazy, but because we're playing a game built on the wrong scoreboard. There's this myth that rich people are just more disciplined, that they have some superhuman ability to resist temptation and hoard money. That's false. In fact, most of the wealthy people I've met don't rely on discipline at all. They rely on design. Their money is structured to move automatically without emotion, without hesitation. The moment their income lands, it's routed. A chunk to investments, a slice to opportunity reserves, a portion to long-term assets. It's invisible, boring, ruthless. They've built systems that remove friction from doing the right thing. No willpower, no decision fatigue, just flow. Compare that to how most people save manually when they feel ready after the month's expenses settle. By then, it's usually too late. The 1% understand this. If your money doesn't have a system, it'll always be ruled by emotion. And emotion doesn't build wealth, structure does. At some point, I stumbled on a phrase that wealthy people live by, though they rarely say it out loud. Money loves speed. It's not about recklessness, it's about velocity. See, the middle class tends to park money. They let it sit, collect dust, wait for permission. But the 1%? They put their dollars on the move. A dollar invested in a business that returns cash flow. A dollar lent out that comes back with interest. A dollar spent on a skill that multiplies income for years. It's not just about saving money, it's about how fast that dollar can go out, do a job, and return stronger. That's velocity. I met a guy who flips properties but never uses his own money. I asked him how. He said, "My capital's never sitting. It's always in motion, working somewhere, returning something." That changed me. Because saving is safe, but movement is what builds momentum. And momentum is where wealth lives. For years, I tried to follow a strict budget. Spreadsheets, categories, color-coded tabs. Groceries, $300. Entertainment, $50. Impulse regret, dollar unknown. It felt like a prison. Every purchase became a guilt trip. Every deviation felt like failure. But when I spent time with people who were truly wealthy, I noticed something strange. They didn't budget like me. Some didn't budget at all, not in the way I understood it. Instead of obsessing over restrictions, they focused on allocation frameworks. They didn't ask, how do I cut costs? They asked, what's the return on this? If a dinner built trust with a client, green light. If a course expanded their skill set, go. If a new hire freed up their time, fund it. It wasn't about pinching pennies. It was about directing energy. They viewed money like soldiers, each dollar with a mission, not a leash. Budgets were not about control. They were about intention. Growing up, I thought saving meant cutting back. Cut the coffee, cut the cable, cut anything that made life feel easy or enjoyable. That's what we're taught, right? Live below your means. Sacrifice now, enjoy later. But the 1% don't think in subtraction, they think in multiplication. Instead of asking, what can I live without? They ask, what can I invest in that will grow beyond me? They spend money on things that expand their world, courses that make them more valuable, mentors who shorten their learning curve, tools that buy back time. Their savings don't just sit and wait. They train, they build, they multiply. One investor told me, if I'm not earning at least 10x over 5 years on something I buy, I question if it's even worth it. That blew my mind, because while most people are focused on shrinking expenses, the wealthy are busy expanding capacity. That's the real secret. They don't just save money, they grow their potential. I used to think being frugal made me wise. There was a kind of pride in saying no to dinner, in reusing old shoes, in skipping the things I secretly wanted. But over time, that pride became bitterness. I was loud about saving because I wanted people to see the struggle. I wanted credit for my restraint. But the wealthy? They don't wear their savings like a badge. In fact, they're often quiet about it. New declarations, new martyrdom, new performative minimalism. Just intentional choices made without applause. Because real wealth isn't about denial, it's about discretion. It's the quiet confidence of knowing you could, but you don't need to. You don't need to prove you're smart with money. You just need to be effective with it. There's a reason why the flashiest people often aren't the richest. And the richest? They're usually dressed like it's laundry day. Wealth whispers, scarcity shouts. And once I stopped trying to be seen as disciplined, I finally started becoming free. There's a moment I'll never forget. I was sitting in my car, outside a job I hated, calculating how many more paychecks it would take to finally feel safe. But every time I got closer, something would move the goalpost. A new expense, a surprise bill, a missed opportunity. And then it hit me. I was following rules that were never designed to help me win, only to help me cope. Rules like save just enough to survive, play it safe until retirement, security over growth. But the wealthy play a different game entirely. They write their own rules. They ask better questions. What if saving isn't about protection but positioning? What if wealth isn't what you hold but what you move? What if saving money is just step one and the real game is what comes after? It's not that saving is wrong. It's that we've been taught to save like we're always in danger. But the 1%, they save like they're getting ready. And maybe that's the mindset we all need now. The turning point wasn't a windfall. It wasn't a raise or a lucky investment. It was a realization, quiet, personal, and irreversible. I had spent most of my life saving to feel safe. But the wealthy, they save to feel sovereign. And that's when everything changed. I stopped saving to protect the version of me that was scared. I started saving to empower the version of me that was ready. Ready to take risks. Ready to pivot. Ready to say no. Ready to build something bigger than a balance sheet. That's when money stopped being a finish line and became fuel. Now, every dollar I save has a job. Some dollars are soldiers, some are scouts, some are seeds, but none of them are prisoners. That's what the 1% do differently. They don't save like the world taught us. They save like they're designing a new one. And maybe, just maybe. So can we